Welcome CSC121 to your very first assignment in Replit. Now this is after creating the Replit account, and this is just so I can get your username and so you can share your account with me and just kind of get started in Replit. Now you may already have a Replit account, and I'll show you what to do if you do. Now first of all, if you just started, it's going to look like this. If you want it in the dark mode, you could go down here on this side and change it to dark. They also have spooky. I think they even have more themes now, but I haven't used any of the other themes. I'm just going to keep it default right now, but I do like the dark theme. Now, a couple things just to show here. This is your account information profile. If you want to put a little picture there, your account information, if you would need to change your password, anything like that, if you need to log out, whatever. And then also the little hamburger menu over here kind of brings that little menu out from the left side. So if you don't want to see it, it'll go away like that. So that's what the hamburger menu does. And if you go to My Repels, you can see your different repels. Now I've used this for other courses, and I have other folders in here, and you could create folders in here to put things into. So if you had another course, you had CSC230, had something else where you were using Replit, you want to start fresh, what you could do here is go into a new folder and just make a folder called CSC121. And this folder will not show up in your repels. This will be for your repels, for your kind of workspaces that you work in. So I'm going to create a folder for this. I'm even going to put a dash SP23, so in case I have more than one here. And it looks like I do have a Spring 2020. So CSC121 Spring 23, I'm going to create a folder. That way I can put my repels in here. Now there it is. So I can create repels in there. So now that I'm in here, I'm going to create a repel. And what I'll do is I'll search templates just for Python. We're not going to use Python turtles yet. We'll use them at some point, but I'm just going to put Python in here. And I'm going to choose this little icon. It's showing up now in light blue and dark blue. It used to be a different color, but we're going to use that. And it's going to come up with kind of a random name. Now for your very first one, just to follow directions, you're just going to call it one replit, and you're going to put in your username. And your username is this, what you're in. There's my username. My username is HomaRCN because this is my RCN email account. So I'm going to put HomaRCN. So that's all I'm going to do for this one. So that way I'll see your username. You'll be familiar what your username is. And I'll just call it one-replit-HomaRCN. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And make sure it's using the Python template. And it has what's new here. I'm not worried about that right now. And there's no file open. And I'll just point out that you have a console and a shell. I'll go over both of those elements of what they do. And you could close them and add new ones. And you could shorten these windows so that you can see more code. You can even hide this over here so that little menu goes away over here. I think you could kind of shorten it a little bit. I think if you shorten it too much, it'll go away. And one thing to point out, you'll see these packager files. You also see your main.py. And I just want to point out that when you're working in main.py, that's the only one that's going to show up in your console when you run it, unless you have some kind of pointer pointing to a different file. But right now, it's always going to run main.py. So if you rename this to something else, it's not going to show up in your console. It's going to run main.py. So I just want to point that out. And there's just some kind of placeholder text here that you can put right over. So what you're going to do first, your very first assignment, real easy stuff. You're just going to go in here and we're going to make some variables. So I'm going to type name. Now that's a variable and it's going to represent something. And I'm going to put in my name. I'll put my name in here. And I'm putting two words in here. I guess you could put first name and last name. Maybe I'll just put first name just to be more specific. First name, and I'll put Rich. And for my second name or last name, and I'll put my last name. Okay, now these are variables that represent something, and they represent strings. These things in quotes are strings. They're showing up orange, they have quotes around them, they're strings. Now we could have numbers in them, but as long as they're quotes, they're considered strings. And what this equal sign means is that we're assigning it to that value. The equal signs is an assignment operator, so we're assigning it to that string value. And this is a variable. Notice this is showing up white, and all that we have to do is to assign it a value is just use an equal sign. So we have first name, we have last name. I'm going to put course, use another variable, and I'll assign it to the value CSC121 W1 and then I'll make another called semester, and I'll put spring 2023, and I'll even put user, just so you're familiar what your username is, and I'm going to put Homa RCN, and then finally I'm going to put age. You put your age, and this is going to be a number, so I'm going to put 55, and it'll show up differently. And this is an integer that's in here. We're not going to have decimals in here. I'm just going to put 55 for now. So we have different data types that we're working in right now. We're going to read about that, but that's all I want right now. Now, nothing's happening right now. We have our main.py file. If we hit run, nothing's going to show up there because all that we did was just assign values to variables. All I'm going to do right now, again, just to get started, I'm just going to hit twice, and I can even put a comment. I'm going to use the # and put print function. Now this is a built-in print function for Python, and this means it'll output, because nothing's output right now. You can see here nothing's output, and I'm just going to put print, and then in parentheses I'm going to put first name, and then I'm going to put a comma, and then I'll put last name, and then I'll put a comma, and I'll put course, and I'll put a comma, semester, you get it, not that hard, and user, and then age. And basically it should print out all these variables on one line, and with each comma it should put a space in between. So let's see what happens with this built-in print function in Python. And there it is. Not too exciting, it's just outputting all my variables. That's all we're doing right now, and we're doing that in the console. Now, in our next video, we're going to talk about the shell a little bit. We can do some bash programming or run some bash commands in here just to go over the shell. We're not going to do a lot of that, but I did it last time we worked in Python Anywhere, and we can do it here, so it's good to know some of those commands that we'll go over. But basically, we have our Python file, which is main.py, and we have some variables that are assigned to data types. We have an integer data type, string data types, and we're printing out basically our variables separated by commas, and that's what's happening here. Now there's different ways we could put variables together and combine them and concatenate them and all kinds of things, but just for now, that's all I want you to do. This is it, because I want you to practice sharing this with me. So what you're going to do to share this is you're just going to share your repl. This is your repl right here, and you could just go up here. There's no share button, there used to be, but you could just go here and just copy this. On a Mac, so I'm just going to do Command C. If you're on Windows, you could do Control C and just copy that URL. That way I'll have your username, I'll have your username in here, I'll know that you know how to set up a file here, I'll know that you know how to output something and that you did all your code correctly, and I'll know that you know how to share it with me. Now, how do you share it with me? Well, if you go back to coursework, you're going to go into Unit 1, and for this first assignment, obviously you have to make a replit account, or if you already have one, then you could just make a folder and do what I did in the video. But if you go here, what you're going to do to share it with me is all you're going to do is come down here and go to add comment, and you're going to insert a link, which is this thing, the chain link, and you're just going to paste your URL from here. That's it. Just paste your URL and make sure you open this link in a new window, because that way it won't get out of MyWarren. It'll just open it in a new tab. So I'll hit save, and that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do for your first assignment. And when I come in here, I'll see this. I'll see that, and I'll make sure that that's your replit workspace. And I'll make sure that I see the first repl that you created in here and that you did the code correctly. I'll be able to click on this and see it in here. Now, I'm in my account, but when I see it in yours, I won't be able to make changes unless I fork it. And I'll talk to you about forking it, because you'll be forking repls, because I will share repls with you so that you can fork them and they'll already be started and you could keep working on them. But that's all you have to do for your first assignment, actual programming assignment, although we didn't really go over a lot of stuff yet. But I just want to make sure that you can create an account and that you could share it with me. So that's all you're going to do for your first assignment for this first unit. Obviously, we're going to get into more stuff after it. We're going to talk about our bash prompts, and then we're going to start doing some real programming. But that's all I want you to do for this first assignment. So if you could do that, you're good for this first unit of doing that. Make sure you make an account, make sure you share it with me. And again, once you're done in here, you could close this up. You don't have to save. This auto save, so there's no save button when you do this. and just make sure you know your password so you can get back in again when you do this. So if you need to log out of here, you can go over here to log out, and that's all you have to do. So that's your first assignment in Replit for CSC121 Spring 23.